is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing great this evening. Thank you all so much for tuning in here with us for another edition of the Tuffy Talk live show. Again, we got the usuals, myself, Layden, Greg the Leg, Michael Tracy, Kins. But we also got, instead of making today, we got Ryan Williams with IPS today. Ryan, appreciate you joining us, brother.
Glad to be back.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Well, again, first of all, again, if you haven't tuned in with us already, make sure, again, just send us a comment. Let us know who's here. Just say, hey, let us know what topics or questions that you have that you want us to get to today, and we will definitely get to them as much as we can. But we do got a lot to cover today, for sure. I mean, obviously, first of all, I mean, it's what were you saying, Ken?
First thing, we need to congratulate Michael.
Yes, congratulations to Michael on his engagement to his longtime girlfriend. Congratulations to that, Michael.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Did you throw up at all, or
No.
Okay. All right. Good.
That didn't sound too promising.
Again, yeah. So yes, congrats to Michael. Thanks for pointing that out, Ken. Really much appreciate that. But yeah, so we got a lot to get to today. But first of all, Greg Robert said, "What's up?" And then Benjamin also says has an opinion as well, which again can we'll just say that the state is definitely very blessed to have a lot of coverage from a lot of different sources. I know that you could argue that, I mean, obviously with not only us, but even like others like Red and White Podcast, IPS, Pack Pride, the Wolfpacker, the Technician. There's a ton of different coverage around NC State. It's kind of ridiculous, but anyway, though, so getting to it, that we are now officially 12 days away, ladies and gentlemen, from NC State versus ECU when this football season getting kicked off. And obviously, if you haven't checked out our predictions already, make sure to go check that out first of all. But Ryan, I know that you and I were talking before Meet the Pack Day, and you gave me a pretty aggressive prediction, and so I'm like, I'm putting you right on the spot, man. I want it to be let it be heard, and also too, right after you get the prediction, kind of a little bit of background why, just kind of go into it.
Yeah, I think what did I tell you, like 42-10 or something like that.
I think I was either,
I just feel like the team's built different this year. I know we were talking about, Russell couldn't win there, Finley couldn't win there, but I think this team's going to be different this year. I mean, it's going to be ECU Super Bowl, so I'm sure they'll come out hot, and then we're going to be like, oh my God, they're driving the field on us, first drive kind of deal. But it's just one of those things that's not sustainable for ECU, because, I mean, State's just so deep. I mean, a lot of people got to realize we have all of our first teamers coming back. Last year, we were paying second, third, fourth team. So it's like all those guys are just filling up the depth. And I just don't think it's going to be much of a game. Now, I think it'll be close in the first quarter just because of all of the hype and the excitement. But I just think as the game wears on, we're just going to wear ECU out.
I like it. Again, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you whatsoever. I mean, obviously, the only thing which kind of piques me in the back of my head is the fact that I can't even remember the last time an ACC team has beaten ECU in Greenville necessarily. So it's been tough there for sure for ACC teams. Shout out to Nick and to Connor, and Jelly goes out saying 34-0. So they say that we're going to shut him out, which, I mean,
that's one of my friends. He's only a State fan because of me.
I mean, that's not a bad reason. That's not a bad reason. Well, and because I was actually talking to a family member of mine who said that the score was going to be 34-31 ECU, which I'm like, State is not giving up 31 points. That ain't happening, or 34 points. That ain't happening. So if you're going to beat us, it's going to be like a 21-14 probably, which again, I think we should score more than 21 points. But anyway, though, so Greg, so what's your initial thoughts of such an aggressive prediction there from Ryan Williams?
I mean, I'm okay with it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it's that much of a difference. I think the 14-21 range, so somewhere around there. I think that's where I'm at with it in my headspace. I agree with Ryan. There'll be a lot of hype to start off the first quarter. Their crowd will be into it. If we go out and punch them in the mouth the first couple of drives, get the crowd out of it, it's done after that point.
I agree.
I think the tough thing for me with the game is we look back at Louisiana Tech last year. This game, and we basically had our full team, and it came down to beating them at the end. So it's just like That's in the back of my head, but I have hopes with all the hype and everything that it's going to be a different year.
Absolutely.
The one thing I'll say about that, Ryan, though, is we were coming off Clemson, so it could have been one of those. Yeah, so I think you're onto something with it being the first game of the season. I think all the focus is in on this. They've been waiting for this since the Holiday Bowl. I could definitely see it being a blowout.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So with that being said, so today actually we were actually going to start this off here, kind of taking a look back. I wanted to kind of bring on Ryan to kind of take a look back at Doran's tenure so far, and I actually asked the crew here to bring their whiteboards with us, as we're not going to be doing trivia necessarily today, but we are going to be doing a game called Great or Not Great, and we will handle it under our Tuffy Rewind. So here we go. All right. So that being said, so just a little bit of background. So obviously, there's been some talks on social media about, has Doran, how many seasons has Doran had so far that have been considered great? And so before, we kind of get into that, because I picked out a couple of seasons which could possibly be considered great, at least in my eyes. And because really to me, and kind of this set the bar here, but really for me, it's kind of because for some people a great season could be an ACC championship, but for me really it really depends on what the expectations are and really how the team is built heading into that season. And so that's kind of a little background of why I picked these seasons. But so basically everybody here, so Greg, Kens, Ryan, and Michael, they all have their whiteboards, piece of paper, whatever it is. So you either write great or not great. You can even just write on two pieces of paper, one piece of paper great, one not great, and just hold it up wherever it is. And then also too in the comments, let us know as well if you think that this season that I'm about to show is great or not great. So with that being said again, so woohoo, here we go. Great or not great. So first season up for debate here or conversation here is the 2014 season. So just as kind of a recap here. So obviously, started off 4-0 against not such big teams for sure. But I mean, obviously starting off a season 4-0 after going 3-9 the previous year is obviously a great start. Losing to Florida State after putting up a heck of an effort. And then basically fighting out of it to eventually win at Syracuse and then win the last 3 games in a row, including a dominant win over UNC, I think rushing for over 380 yards of rushing, and then beating UCF and a team that upset ECU on a last-second Hail Mary. So with that being said, again, let us know in the comments if you think this is, in your eyes, is a great season or not great season. And then Michael, Ryan, Greg, Kens, what do y'all say?
Are we going one by one or all at once?
Nope, all at once. Go.
You can read my handwriting.
Not great, not great.
Yeah, me too.
Greg says not great. Kens wants to say great, but
I do.
but her head says not great.
Yeah, it's not great. Let me write it small.
So let me kind of justify real quick in terms of why I say it could be considered great. Obviously, for the fact that you just came off a 3-9 season, which I mean was bleak of the bleak, and there were some positive sights in terms of seeing us compete against the number 1 team in the country, seeing us compete against Jameis Winston for really 3.5 quarters, depending on how you look at it. And then also too, obviously, getting the monkey off Doran's back of finally getting the AC win on the road. Dominating UNC. I mean, I think all of us would love that. And also too beating Wake Forest. So winning the Mac Brown State Championship, quote unquote. And then I mean beating a UCF in what could have been considered a road game, because I mean it was right down the road from UCF. So and against a team that again, I mean just upset ECU on a last second Hail Mary. So I felt like there was a lot of positive momentum there that was created from that season that could kind of really prove to the state fans that this is hopefully the signs to come there. So Ryan, with you being the guest first, what were your kind of thoughts on that initial in terms of why you say not great?
I think it was good. I think it was more positive. I think you lost on the road, Boston College. You lost to Syracuse. I mean, granted, Boston College is always a tough away game, but I guess it is a bias now though, because it's like I look at the team, I'm like, we should beat Syracuse. We should beat Boston College. But I think as fans, we kind of created the basis. You have to get at least 7-8 wins, and I think that fell right in the middle. And there wasn't really any huge wins aside from the UNC game.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of the basis of mine.
Yeah, I agree. Anything kind of short to add into that real quick?
I mean,
Just go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, like when you do put in the perspective of it was during second season. I mean, I guess I could see that argument, but again, there were still some bad losses, and it's just tough to say that a season just with that record is a great season.
I agree. Okay. Makes sense. All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our next season, which is the 2017 season. Obviously starting off with a heartbreaking loss to South Carolina at Bank of America, but then winning our next 6 games in a row, losing at Notre Dame, at number 9 Notre Dame, and then losing at home to number 6 Clemson. In a heartbreaker. And then obviously the only really one head scratcher was obviously the loss to Wake Forest when Jamie Newman started as their third string quarterback. So with that being said, Greg, Ryan, Michael, and Kansas, make sure again to let us know in the comments if you think great or not great. Let us know what you think. Go ahead. So looks like we got not great again from Ryan. We got great from Michael. Okay. We got great from Greg and a great from Ken. So Ryan being the only one saying not great. So Ryan, what does it take to please you, my man?
Dude, that whole season just makes me mad, man. Like, yeah, you were loaded with NFL talent. You had no business losing that South Carolina game. You had no business losing. My mind just went blank. Oh, the Wake Forest game. I was at that game, still mad.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, we were in that gap. We were down either a touchdown or 2. We were driving, and then Finley threw a pick 6 or just threw an interception, and then it was over after that. Clemson game, that was rough because I remember we got down to like the last drive, and they called some BS calls, and it seemed like that whole game was just pass interference and holding on State all game. But that was one of those seasons where I felt like State was primed to have a great season.
Absolutely.
And just that opening kickoff against South Carolina, it's just crazy to me. And it's like you go back and you look at that team, you look at the NFL talent that was on that team, and you're like, how did these dudes their season games? Now I get to Notre Dame, the at Notre Dame and the Clemson game, but like the South Carolina game, Wake Forest game, it just shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and I mean, I think for this, obviously the Wake Forest, because part of my mind kind of thinks back to Wake Forest game, and obviously if young Emeka Emezi could have just held onto the ball for a quarter of a yard longer,
a split second.
But
I still think he was across the
He was
line.
across the plane. I stand by that statement because I was at that game.
Sure. Well, and so again, that's why to me it's like we were literally a quarter of a yard away from 10 wins. So, which again has only happened, twice again for one other time in NC State history. So it's like, that's why to me, even though yes, I completely agree, especially since again my wife went to South Carolina, losing to South Carolina was definitely a kick in the groin for sure. It's like Notre Dame, God, that was, I mean, that it was incredible just to be on that stage where we were basically competing as to top 15 teams at the time, something like that. And so, I mean, it's it at least showed kind of where we were going, but because also too, from a mentality perspective, we weren't quite there. I truly think that the Clemson game showed that Clemson knew how to win. We didn't know yet, but
we had the talent, just not the experience in the group.
Yep. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I think this season was the one that really cemented my kind of, I guess, faith in Doeren as, because up to that point it had been a little shaky, and then we lose that close game to South Carolina, which we should have won, but there's still an SEC team. Then we went and played decent in the first half against Notre Dame. I think the game was probably a little closer than the ending score, and then played was right there, in a 1-score game with Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about Wake Forest, and so it's like there were a lot of close games, and that could have been that could have easily been a 10-win season. That's why I said great.
And Notre Dame too. Again, I think that if we didn't lose B.J. Hill and Justin Jones in that game, and basically opening up the middle of our line with a NFL stacked offensive line from Notre Dame. I mean, that's honestly was our demise. Yeah. Was we when we lost? Yeah, they ran all over us once we lost B.J. Hill and Justin Jones. So that was pretty much it. Ken's, anything to add on your end for that?
The reason I mean, y'all kind of covered it all, but that South Carolina game, being there, once that opening kickoff happened, all the state fans were like, here we go. Yeah. Like, I feel like everybody we had a feeling what was coming. So, I mean, that's why obviously I count that as a loss, but opening kickoff, that kind of you could see the sideline just like,
that was Deebo Samuel.
Deebo
Samuel, right?
So I think, obviously with the vote, we can put this in the great season column, because I understand from Ryan's perspective, it's more of like it could have been better kind of deal. But overall, again, I mean, being that we were so close to 10 wins, we got to put that was a great season for this program for sure. So now we got 2 more left, obviously, and spoiler alert, they're our last 2 seasons. Obviously, starting off with 2020, the COVID year, beating Wake Forest, losing to Virginia Tech. Obviously, I think was the one that hurt for sure. But then, the comeback win against Pitt, handling Virginia, the comeback win against Duke, even with the loss of Leary during that game, the win against Liberty, that, I mean, again, that was, I think, Liberty's only loss the entire year was to us. And then, obviously for us to be able to put this season together, even with such a tough loss, as Leary, and then bringing in Bailey Hockman and still being able to put this together is, to me, why it was, in my eyes, a great season, because we were able to overcome so much in order to get to this point. So anyway, so let us know, Ryan, Michael, Kenzie, and Greg. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. All right, we got Greg from Ken's, Greg from Ryan, not great from Michael. Oh my gosh, Michael, why the heck was this not a great season, man?
I mean, I think it had the potential to be, with the way Leary was playing, and that's an easy excuse because he went out, and we still finished with 8 wins. But I don't know. It just felt like, I don't know. That was just when you brought it up.
You just wanted to stir the pot, Michael. Just be honest with us.
I didn't know what they were gonna pick.
Yeah. Well, because one other thing as well is, I mean, it literally took a ungodly performance by De'Ara King to beat us and come back too. Like, that's the other thing I kind of think in my head as well. But
the other thing I will say is that, I mean, to have a great season, you have to have a lot of things go your way in addition to playing well. And just, I mean, from the beginning of the season with Devin Leary having to sit out with COVID, I mean, things just didn't go our way. And so
I get that. Ryan, so tell Michael, why was this such a great season?
Honestly, I think this might be the best, one of the best seasons since Dave has been at State. And I say that because of all the dynamics around it, from, Leary going out, you had COVID. And I mean, not to hate on Bailey Hockman, but I don't know, but they turned him into a superstar that year. He had some very bad plays and very bad games, but his play, I didn't expect it from him. And I don't know what caused it, but the fact that we pulled out 8 wins with him, that quarterback in the latter half of the harder, it just blows my mind.
Absolutely. Greg, what do you got to add to that?
Yeah, I will say we were definitely aided by not having to play Clemson that year. That would have probably been a loss somewhere in there. To date, you could argue that the Liberty game was Doran's best win of his tenure, and that took a miracle block. The Kentucky game, we should have won that game. We had a lot of guys, obviously, with Hockman, and we had some guys sitting out. But I thought it was a great season. If Leary doesn't break a leg and doesn't have COVID, I think we easily get 9 and even maybe 10 in that season.
Well, because I think the season really all comes down to that Pitt game. I mean, the fact that we were able to come back where ESPN at one point in the fourth quarter had Pitt as a 75% chance likelihood to win the game. And for us to go on a 2-minute drive at the end of the game and, go down and win that game, I think that you haven't seen that very often, especially in Doran's tenure and especially in O'Brien's tenure too, even I would add as well. So Ken, anything to add before we skip on to 2021?
I just think it was a great season because of the challenges that they had to overcome with losing your quarterback. Obviously that's a big deal. And then right after that, going to Carolina and still, Ben Finley showed out that game. The score might not have shown it, but he definitely showed out that game. And with COVID, not having any fans, that was a lot, really different for anybody, any athlete on the field. So the fact that they could pull out that many wins I thought was great.
Absolutely. All right. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think they had to reschedule any games or had a ton of players out with how they handled everything COVID wise.
They did.
So I think just that quality control, I think was a testament to that culture that, everyone talked about with Doran. Everyone was bought into it, and they got 8 wins from it.
Well, and that's a great point as well. That you got to put that feather in Doran's cap as well. The fact that he was able to get, so much leadership and just like you said, so many people to buy in and follow the procedures, follow the rules to make sure that we could prevent any kind of breakout as much as we can. Got to give hats off to him on that as well. So yeah, great point there, Ryan. All right. So our last season being last season, obviously starting off with a 45 nothing win over South Florida. Obviously lost against Mississippi State. I think that's the one that we all, couldn't necessarily look past, but obviously beating Clemson at home was huge. Winning at Boston College handily on ESPN was a huge win. And obviously the huge comeback against UNC. I think everybody knows last season pretty still well, so don't necessarily have to do too much about this. So Ryan, Michael, Greg, Kens, let us know. All right, we got Greg from Kens. Greg says greatest of Doran era. Wow. Ryan says great, and then Michael says great too. Yeah. No, so Greg, since you said greatest of Doran era, I have to give that to you first. So go ahead, my friend.
It's hard to argue it. Other than the Mississippi State game, we had every chance to win all of those games. We probably win the Holiday Bowl as well. So, we give them his 10 wins, would have been the second time only in program history. We competed in every game, and I think that's all you can ask for. You have to remember that this doesn't always fall on the coach, right? The coach calls the plays, the offense or defense has to go execute. So, we were in all of those games to win games. So the coaches did their part. We just were a couple of plays away from executing and winning. So to me, that's not on the coach. That's more on the players.
Absolutely. I 100% agree on that.
Ryan?
Greg.
What's that?
Don't say that, because everything's the coach's fault.
A lot of fans think that.
Yeah.
It was a great year. And I think it's great to me because of all the injuries we sustained and still produced. In all those games, we were close. I remember they did, IPS did an interview, I think it was with Chris Dunn. And he said when they went back and reviewed tape of that, they had a sideline camera that showed that person touched that ball 10 yards past the onside kick. So it was a legal onside kick. So, but Wake Forest Stadium, they didn't have an angle that showed that. So, you take that into account, then State probably could come and tie that game, possibly win against Wake Forest. Miami, I think that was a fluke game. And then Mississippi State, same thing. So to me, it was a great season.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Michael, anything to add to that?
No, not really. I think I would agree with Craig. That was Doran's greatest season so far. I feel like that is hard to argue. Like you said, we were in every game. We were a couple plays away from being 11-1, in the regular season. Not even counting the bowl. So,
absolutely. So, Ken's, anything last thing to add as well?
Everything was great about that season. The environment was great. The attitude of the players were great. That's when you really saw that those players, they're a different breed. They're a different team. And the fact that we're getting all of them back, that's how we knew that last year was great, but this year's going to be even greater.
Yep. Well, and again, so first of all, I think that from all this, we've definitely learned that the last 2 seasons have been great. No doubt about it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you could argue even as well, 2017 overall was a great season, depending on who you're talking to as well. So Doran's definitely brought us some great seasons for sure. But the one biggest thing from last season that I still say over and over again, that was really the biggest testament in my mind, was the Clemson game. The fact that Chris Dunn missed the field goal, but yet we still rallied and found a way to win. Because I still remember in 2016 in the game that when we lost, or sorry, when Manbar missed, I was like, it's over. Like there's not even a point of us going to overtime. Like we're not going to win. It's not going to happen. That was our chance. And I feel like that you can kind of feel like, because, I was around the students in the student section, that when we missed the kick, they almost kind of had that same reaction of like, well, it's over. We just lost. But yet, the fact that the guys still rallied around Chris Dunn and said, we're not going to let that be the end of this. That's not going to be how this game is going to end. That to me shows, just like Ryan was saying earlier, that shows the culture of this program. That shows that, again, it's not a bunch of individuals. It is a team that we have here. And we have all those guys back. And again, they came back for one reason only. That's to win ACC championship. That's it. There's nothing else. So, and they found a way to win. And same thing with UNC. They found a way to win. So, and I truly do believe that once you have a group of guys that figures out how to win in terms of from a culture perspective, that it, for the most part, usually continues on to the next generation, because you have that guy, those senior guys that teach the younger guys how to do it. So, again, it's a huge testament. So, and kind of moving on to tweets of the week, and I'm not even going to do the intro, but obviously, first of all, definitely go check out. We posted today as our heads up, that we're one day closer, or whatever you want to call it, the thing we've been doing every single day, a video from 2014 where Dave Doran made his famous quote about, how this is a blue collar school, hands in the dirt, tough team. And that's exactly what this team is going to be. And, talking about, how he came to NC State to win a ACC championship and how he needed the team, he needed the facilities, he needed the players. And tell me, guys, but Ryan specifically, since you're the guest here, but, I truly do feel we're at that point, really looking at the season, we have it all. That's why, it's kind of nerve wracking to really even think about or consider, but we have the talent, we have the depth, we have the experience. All of our coaches came back. We have the drive. Again, especially with how last season ended in the Holiday Bowl. But is there anything else you think that we're missing? Are you kind of all in like we are?
Yeah, I think all the pieces are there. It was kind of interesting that I forgot who said it on the team, but basically, if State had played in that Holiday Bowl, they assumed a lot of the players actually wouldn't, because the season ended so bitterly. They wanted to come back, and they all bought in that they could win an ACC championship, and that was the main driving factor, with Drake and Peyton on them coming back. So it's like one of those things, you got to win now. There's no more excuses, but it's tough. Goldilocks zone right now, where it's like everything is so great. And it's almost like you don't want the season to start, because you're like, it can only go down from here unless you win everything. But it's like you're so excited about the season, because it's like State fans, we have a tendency to have high expectations. And rightfully, this year is the most realistic of the seasons, because there's really nothing you can point to that is a weakness, besides like the offensive line. But even that, coming out of fall camp, there's a lot of good news around that. So you just got to get on the field now.
I don't know, Ryan. I'm a little bit nervous. And Michael, before I let you talk, one thing which I'm a little bit nervous about when you say that State fans are typically optimistic is I was listening to Joe Ovies and Joe Gilio, their podcast, and they were having people call in to, if you guess the record right, you guess the losses right, you win a package or whatever it is. And some State fan called in predicting the season and said, I'm going optimistic, Joe. I'm going to say 10-2. And I was like, wait, you're being optimistic and saying we're 10-2? Like, and that's pretty much what Joe Gilio said, but I was like, what the heck? So I'm like, I don't know about that. That's not really optimistic for me, but okay. Michael, go ahead, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, like this, it's set up for this to be the year, and it's like Ryan was saying, it's almost like there's a lot on the line, but I don't know. I mean, it's, you know, it the things are falling in place, and they just have to go out and execute it, and even Ryan, you said the weakness could be the offensive line. It's like a team that returns 4 out of 5 starters, and that's your
Right.
weak part. So it's like,
Yeah.
it all the pieces are there. They just gotta fit together.
Absolutely.
The quote that Drake said on All Access, where he's like, the only team that on the schedule that can beat us is ourselves.
Mhm.
And I feel like that quote needs to be everywhere, because I feel like this team is they're not focused on the hype. They're not focused on the media. They're not focused on anything. That, like Dave said, in All Access and everything, like they have a chip on their shoulder. And I don't, of course, I'm the fan that's going to say we're going 12-0, obviously, because it's me. But I see us winning an ACC title this year.
Yeah, I agree. Greg, anything to add to that? You're muted. No. Whoops. All right, we'll come back to you. Yeah. Check your microphone, Greg. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move on though, and let you come back in here, Greg. But this doesn't really kind of move away from the subject, but just kind of adds on to one specific thing that Ken was talking about, the All Access. Which, first of all, if you haven't checked out episode 2 yet, definitely make sure to do that. That is definitely an amazing episode. And again, first of all, we'll kind of talk a little bit here later, but obviously Ruffin McNeil, God, dude, having that dude as a part of the program is so awesome. You know, seeing him and Doran together are two peas in the pod for sure. But this is one tweet which I specifically wanted to pull out, because this is one that it definitely seems like conference commandos. I don't know what this Twitter is, who it is, or who runs it, but it definitely seems like they're either a huge Clemson lover or just a Clemson fan, because they are all in on the fact that Clemson's defense is just superior and ours is not. Saying and just kind of a little background for those who are listening, and basically Wolfpack Stats posted the clip where Isaiah Moore was sitting at the table with Peyton Wilson and Drake Thomas at Tony Gibbs' house, and he was saying, yeah, they're saying that Clemson's defense is going to be better than ours. And then you see Peyton Wilson basically just emphatically shaking his head from left to right.
That was the best clip.
And yes, that was a great clip
I've ever seen. I loved it.
Yeah,
that was a great stuff.
I mean, when you talk about like bulletin board material, that's it. But
yeah,
and I don't know how much I don't know how much control that NC State and like Doran had over the final say of the what was they were going to put out. But if this is going to get out, they got to go back it up now.
Yeah, absolutely. So now getting into the tweet part, and this is where I kind of want your input here, Ryan. But he basically goes on to say, for reference, Clemson has 4 linebackers, all that are more talented than Isaiah Moore, Peyton Wilson, and Drake Thomas. Clemson has the best D-line in college football by an entire galaxy. NC State does not have one DB that would start for Clemson for the entirety of the season. So is there anything here, and I don't know if I'm going to get a trademark, copyright or whatever from Stephen A. Smith on this, but is there anything about this that is not absolutely blasphemous, to say the least?
I think the only thing that is like relatively true is their D line, because they're going to be some monsters.
Sure.
But I think Xavier Thomas, I think is his name. He's out for a couple games with like a foot injury. But I think I was reading through the comments because I just love stuff like this, because he like back up to it. And of course, State fans are posting stuff like saying, I think it was David Hale posted a stat about our linebackers. All 3 of them were in the top 10 of some linebacker category. And then this guy goes on to list that, oh yeah, but we have 2 5-stars that were behind our 2. They're going to be playing this year. I'm like, but that doesn't translate to a game. It doesn't translate to game speed. It's not the same. I think for us too, man, it's like, we have our 3, but you still have Betty behind them. They're good. Jalen Scott's been great in fall camp. Mm-hmm. So Jordan Poole's been good. And the whole crazy, because I think Fagan, he's going to be all ACC this year. He's really good. Pitts, Battle. You got Tyler Baker Williams, who was like statistically one of the best. Pierre Lewis, like it's ridiculous. But I mean, again, counts like that, they just want attention. So
sure, absolutely. Greg, are you back with us, my man?
I think I am.
You are. Let's go. Okay.
What happened? It just muted itself. That's awesome.
No worries. So go ahead.
I didn't touch anything, but I agree with everything everyone said. Moving on.
Love it.
Safety comment.
Safety comment. Yeah, I want to kind of touch too on a couple of these comments as well. So first of all, touching on Will Pryor's comment saying that Leary made the greatest throw of his career in overtime of Clemson. Absolutely a pro type throw.
Devin Carter made a pro type catch.
Well, that's exactly what was going to be my point.
I was just going to throw that out there too.
That was exactly my next point.
I would even argue that wasn't his best throw. I would almost argue his pit throw to Mezzi was even better. But they were both great. Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing about that play is Carter wasn't even supposed to run a route. It was a bubble route to Thayer. And he just took off running down the sideline, just found him. So it's just like one of those miracle plays. And it's like Carter made a miraculous catch. Larry threw it to his spot and Carter adjusted to it.
Yep.
I will say the one thing about Leary, he's not afraid to chuck it. And like he trusts his receivers to go get the ball. He's just got that gunslinger mentality. And he's got the gunslinger mentality, but he's not reckless, if that makes sense. Like he doesn't turn it over like a lot of gunslingers do. So I think he's definitely very calculated in his throws.
Absolutely. I agree on that too. And so let me bring this other one up from Will too, where he says, I've watched this team for 50 years. This is the best team on paper I can remember. And seeing this, it made me think of one thing and one thing only. And that was back in 2010, that team of Jarvis Williams, Russell Wilson, Owen Spencer, Darrell Davis, and on defense side, you had Nate Irving, Terrell Manning, Audie Cole, you had David Amerson, Earl Wolf, the list goes on and on. Like there was a lot of talent there. So, I mean, Ryan, do you put them in kind of a similar tier, or do you truly see this team can be even in a separate tier from that 2010 team? Potentially.
I think it is, because that 2010 team, you basically had your starters who were really good, and you had maybe a role player here and there. But I think the 1 and 2 deep for this team are like they could be starters anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to fill in a guy on the 2 deep who's just a fill-in guy. He could start, and you have guys on the third string that are the exact same way. And I think that is what separates this state team from other teams, is because. And you saw it last year. One guy went down, the next guy stepped up, and it wasn't a drop-off. And I think that is the biggest difference between the two teams and a lot of the previous state teams.
I agree.
I would also piggyback and say there's so much talent there that we've had guys transfer out to go to other Power 5 schools, and that they're starting at those schools. So, I mean, it's just so hard to get on the field. So, to Ryan's point, I think you could argue in some places we're a solid 3 deep. That definitely can start this year.
Yeah.
I look at the running. I mean, I think the running back. I think the one thing that we just don't know because we haven't seen them. But if the hype matches the on-field play, I think we're going to be 3 or 4 deep at running back. You know what I mean? Like it's insane the potential that's there.
Yeah.
I was watching the podcast with Eric McLean with talking about with Dave Doran, and just hearing him compare Demi Sumo to freaking Naheem and Reggie. He said he's a home run runner. Like he'll make a play. So like that just made me excited because I'm not gonna lie, that was a question mark for me coming in, like the running game. But the fact that we have him, we have Delbert, we have Mark Jones, like we have a lot of guys that can, Michael Allen. We have a lot of guys that can step up in that position. But I feel like Demi Sumo is gonna show out.
And to the point, it's not just the coaches, it's the players that are saying it too. Like Isaiah has said it, Drake has said it, Leary has said it. Like they're super excited about that room.
Yeah, great. Anything to add to that, Ryan?
About Sumo, he was basically the main guy in fall camp breaking runs on our defense. So, and now obviously there wasn't a lot because our front seven is so stout. But he was like the main guy breaking runs. So they're kind of looking to him and Houston to be like the one person.
Yeah. Well, and especially too, because keep in mind too that whenever you hear that defense is winning in training camp, typically in most training camps, defenses typically do win, just because, I mean, you're watching your offense, you're watching their plays and their tendencies way better than any opponent that you're ever going to see will know. So, it's not a shocker by any means if you have a defense that is controlling a training camp per space, especially ours this year for sure. So, but yeah, so completely agree with you on that. So, obviously wanted to highlight Chad Stock's comment saying, win every play, possession quarter, and keep your foot on the gas. Because that's one thing is everybody, when we were put out the tweet or put out the episode where the thumbnail says undefeated going to Clemson, and everybody says, well, I just want to be focused on winning, being one on September 4th. And it's like, well, yeah, we're not saying that we're going to be undefeated necessarily, but just, that is a question, because obviously I think that's really kind of like a first hurdle. Like, can we get past ECU, and then you kind of combine that together with, can we get past those first 4 games of, the UConn, Texas Tech, and Charleston Southern. Yeah. So, but anyway, so wanted to kind of bring this up as well. Obviously give a huge shout out to our 6 new captains, and also to the first time where we've had some 3-time captains as well, and help me as well. But I think Isaiah and Grant are 3-time captains. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
Sounds right.
I thought it was Spees.
Yeah.
Spees has been a 3-time captain too.
I thought it was Gibby.
I thought it was Gibson and
no, not
I think
Spees.
it's Gibson and Isaiah Moore.
Yeah, not Spees. Spees only started starting really last season, for the most part.
Yeah.
So I mean, definitely not a shocker. But so Ryan, I mean, first initial thoughts seeing these 6. I mean, obviously, you could probably name 6 other people on the team that could easily be captains on this team. But initial thoughts seeing these 6.
I mean, I think they're what the team stands for. I think everyone looks up to these guys. And to me, I think we were talking at the Meet the Pack thing. It's like in basketball, when you feel confident. And I think when, these guys look over and see Drake or Isaiah or Leary, Gibson, they know, okay, I got a good guy beside me. And I think it builds confidence in everyone. And you especially see that in Leary, because everyone, they treat him amazing. Moore's taking pictures with him and wanting to learn under him. But I think it just shows we have so much leadership across the board and in every position. There's not just one guy, it's not even 2 guys. You have 6 guys, those captains, who I think can just lead the team.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think we're in good hands.
Yeah, I agreed on that. So, obviously, in our title of this live stream, it obviously is titled NC State Football Season Hot Takes. So, with that being said, Ryan, do you have any specific hot takes that you yourself claim heading into the season, or maybe ones that you are at the front of your list?
I think 2 guys on the offense who are going to be key factors are going to be Julian Gray and even Jack Chambers. They had really good fall camps. Gray, they think he's going to be just like a star. But we have, I think, 13 guys at receiver right now. So he's kind of overshadowed having Carter, Daryl Jones there, but he has a lot of potential. Chambers, he was really dynamic in camp. They're going to have, or at least they would have the ability to run a different kind of offense if there are different looks.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a very able quarterback. Morse has been looking really good too. So they're both battling for the 2 spot, which kind of leaves Finley behind. But the good thing is that Morris has shown a lot of potential. On the defensive side, I mean, there's really not much. I think our D line is going to be very impressive. Everyone talks about, I think ultimately our D line is going to be a huge impact, because like Josh Harris, he looks good, man. And it's crazy. I don't even think he's starting. And to look at him and his potential coming off the bench is just crazy to me. I think the D line is just going to be the defense.
Yeah, agreed. Michael, what do you got for us, man? Since you / Macon were the ones that actually came up with the idea of doing this, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no. I think we'll have at least one first team All-American player, and more than likely from the defense. I mean, the only person on offense would be Leary, but there's just probably too much QB talent in the ACC plus the whole country. But I think we'll have at least one first team All-American from the defense, whether that's Corey Durden or Drake Thomas or Peyton Wilson. I don't know, but I think at least one will make the first team All-American.
That would be big. That would be big for sure. Especially if we can get a couple. That'd be really huge. I can't even remember the last time we've ever had 2 first team All-Americans on during the same team. So
the only thing with linebackers was, and I think I said this on our defensive preview with Kenton, it's that, like, I don't know if any of them will stand out enough just because they're all so good and that they'll all like take tackles from each other, take sacks and interceptions and stuff. So like there might not be one who has far and above like this crazy stat line because they're all so good. So that would be my only worry there.
Yeah. Greg, you got any? Greg, you know I mean? Yeah, no, I got you. Greg, you got any hot takes for us?
I'll stick with ACC hot takes. Dave Dorn wins Coach of the Year. So there's going to be my one hot take. And we have at least 6 players make first team all ACC.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think that's too far-fetched for sure.
Is that what we had last?
First, I don't know about first, not first team.
Not first team.
I don't know first team, but
not
total.
First team.
I'm talking straight up first team.
I got you.
Okay.
Ken's.
That would be.
You got any hot takes for us?
I mean, they kind of nailed it, but I have one person, Anthony Belton. I feel like AB is going to show everybody that people have been worried about the O-line for no reason. Obviously, losing Icky is huge.
I like it.
Freaking 6. I mean, Icky's just a beast of a man. But AB, y'all just watch. He's going to be protecting Devin just like Icky was.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, they were saying that. They were saying in camp there was virtually no pressure coming off that left side because of Belton.
Telling you.
Yeah.
That'd be big. That would be huge for sure. And then for me, I mean, obviously, a lot of State fans might consider it a hot take, like you're crazy, in terms of, I when I listen to Joe Gilio's, season prediction contest, whatever, I put it in there saying 13, we're going to go 13-1, losing to Alabama as the 4th seed in the college football playoff. And I mean, a lot of people were like you're freaking nuts. And I'm like, I mean,
don't you work for a drug company? Are you taking any of them?
What?
That's a hot take.
Sorry. I'm sorry, Greg. Are you saying that because you actually think we're actually going to beat Alabama and go?
That's 14? What I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
I got you.
My hot take.
I got you. Yeah, no, I'm actually going to go out on a crazy limb and say that Keon Lesane is going to be our 3rd leading wide receiver. Obviously, Devin Carter and Thayer Thomas are going to be your 1, 2. But I'm going to go say that Keon Lesane is going to be your number 3. Obviously, Julian Gray is getting a ton of hype. Obviously, Daryl Jones is a guy I think that a lot of us, a lot of State fans are hoping could really step up, being that he was an experienced player and obviously a talented player, and seeing guys like Anthony Smith as well that could be deep threat. But I've seen a lot in Keon, between, even what you've seen in All Access, but also too, even the spring game, seeing some of the plays he's made. I think he's been waiting for his opportunity. And, so I'm going to go and say Keon Lesane. I think that with all the talk about Julian Gray, that Keon's been a guy that hasn't been talked about a lot, but I see a lot there with him. So we'll see what happens there with him. But so with that being said, so now that kind of wraps up kind of heading into this season a little bit, and we could talk a little bit about a big piece of news that came about this weekend of Kevin Concepcion, the 4-star / 3-star wide receiver commit who picked us over UNC, and in a stylish fashion, and again a huge win for Dorn, Joker Phillips, Tim Beck, and this staff. Again keeping a guy back close to home, especially too because and Ryan, I'm kind of interested in your thoughts on this as well. But obviously you see a main group of guys, because one thing I know as well is that there was a couple of NC State commits actually went to his game to be around during the commitment. And but I mean, like, guys like Lex Thomas, Noah Rogers, Tamarcus Cooley, Kevin Concepcion, like, all those guys are really, really close, and so to me, it kind of says a lot too, because, I know that there's a one wide receiver as well that's committed to UNC. That's kind of a part of this group as well. So I think, the fact that we're able to kind of get Kevin over, and then, knowing that Noah Rogers is a part of this crew and how close Noah Rogers is with the rest of the crew. I mean, I think it just is another sign, kind of another like piece of writing on the wall that this fight for Noah Rogers is far from over. That to me is kind of the one thought that's beaming through my head, specifically from getting this guy.
Yeah, and I think, man, when we went and saw him down in Myrtle, the 7-on-7s, I think it was back in February, that dude just dominated. Like, it wasn't even fair. So like, you just see him in person and you're just like, boy, this dude is special. Even at State's summer camps, he just wasn't a competition. But like you said, they're all. We went to Heritage's game Friday night, and we were talking with Lex, and he was like, that's my guy. He was like, that's my boy, and him and Cooley are super close, and even Vereen's really close with them. So I think they're going to try their best with Rogers and even Smothers, because that was kind of their thing. And I think Anthony Smith too, who we actually took from UNC also. They're all going to try to get those two guys. But it's just tough because at the end of the day, we're diehard fans, so we're like, of course we go to State. But like for Rogers, it's hard to turn down, playing at Ohio State. It's like, you could play with your best friends, or you could get paid money to play at Ohio State. But I think they're definitely going to try to push for them. I don't think the recruiting is over until signing day, and I don't even think it's over after signing day for those guys. So I don't know. I think they're going to keep pushing to get those guys, and hopefully we do get them. Yeah,
absolutely. No, again, I think, again, just not necessarily saying any, because I guess kind of my next biggest question actually is, so there's a lot of talks before Kevin's commitment that supposedly UNC pulled their offer for Kevin. And so, I mean, do you know, is there any truth to that at all?
There were a lot of UNC fans in that comment section that were saying he was going there. So,
because that's
I call bull.
That's huge. Because even if you can't necessarily say if that's necessarily true or not, is that common? Like, I feel like that's kind of classless a little bit, ironic.
Yeah.
There, but yeah.
Yeah, UNC's done that before, where they would basically act like they didn't offer a guy. So like Corey Packprod, he was like, okay, we're going to wait till the we pulled his offer thing, but they wanted that kind of but they're going to act like, but if KC came to the door and was like, hey, I want to play for UNC, they take him in a heartbeat, but they'll never admit it because that's just the nature of the game. So.
Yeah. Well, and because I think too, like, especially, hearing, how his parents, are big UNC fans, things like that. But yet for us to still get, convince him to come to us, I think just again proves that, and because the culture, and also too, because one thing as well, and how crazy this is we got all these guys, Tamarcus Cooley, Isaiah Shirley, Javante Vereen, Lex Thomas, and we haven't even played one football game yet. Like, that's the craziest thing to me, is that we have a heck of a class already, but we haven't even played one game yet. Like, imagine, like, if we were to go and win ACC championship, like the amount of guys that could even be added to it. Like, if we can, go ahead, Michael.
That's the best recruiting tool there is.
Absolutely,
winning.
What especially that first Texas Tech game, when they show the red lights, in a primetime environment, that's gonna commit a couple of guys too. So
yeah, I think they actually offered a linebacker from Texas Tech, so that'll be good, to play them. And they also offered 2 twin linebackers. I think they were committed to UCF. So I think now they're kind of in the mix of trying to flip guys. But the thing is they wouldn't offer these guys if they didn't think they could flip them.
Right.
So, and I think now they realize, okay, we have some pull. Granted, they're getting kind of late in to the recruiting cycle on these guys. And ACC is they were on him from the beginning. They were like one of the first teams to offer to get in contact with him, and it paid off by him committing to us. So now they're going to try to pull these other guys and use some of the season hype to get interest in them.
Absolutely. Love it. Cool. So one other thing too, which I want to bring up from the football side before we put this one to rest and kind of touch on a couple other things before we wrap this thing up, is David Thompson's tweet saying, for those wondering about backup quarterback Ben Finley, I was told by a source that he's currently NC State's fourth string quarterback behind Devin Leary, Jack Chambers, and MJ Morris. Now, I think we can all, agree, and it's not really much of a shocker that he is behind Devin Leary, Jack Chambers, but to officially, at least from a source, hear that he is officially behind MJ Morris, who again, he literally just arrived on campus. In a game, Ben Finley is a guy that played some minutes against UNC back in 2020, and was showed some light for sure. Obviously made some freshman mistakes, but showed a lot of potential there. And obviously being the younger brother of Ryan Finley, that's definitely a legend. For some reasons, for multiple reasons. NC State. It's definitely a big thing to hear that. It's supposedly almost kind of an official thing that he is really behind MJ Morris. I know you kind of talked about this already, Ryan, but what have you been kind of hearing that's really kind of set MJ Morris so far, so quickly up ahead that he's already apparently surpassed a experienced backup in Ben Finley?
Yeah, I think we talked sometime. I was really shocked that Finley didn't even leave. He basically just blew up before the UNC game, and everyone just basically thought he was gone. And then, you come into this season, no one really knew about Chambers, and they didn't think Morris was going to really compete. But then he gets into fall camp. They're basically saying like he is playing like an upperclassman, like looking off the defenders and everything and making really nice passes. Now, of course, his biggest issue is going to be his throwing angle, because he keeps it kind of low, so it leads to passes being tipped. But mentally, he's not a freshman. He's like, they say he's years beyond that. So it's good to hear that, because Chambers, he's only here for this year, and then after that, it's either you're going to get a grad transfer quarterback or you're going to have worse. So you better make something happen.
Absolutely, it's true. Greg, Michael Kins, anything to add to that?
Kind of just, it does surprise me that Finley has dropped. Then the question becomes, does he transfer? If he ends up being the fourth string guy, obviously quarterback's one of those positions you can only play one at a time, so you're bound to lose folks. So it wouldn't surprise me if he left. Maybe drop down a level or go to a group of five, but we'll see.
Yeah, true. All right. So with that being said, we're going to move on here again and kind of touch on these two quick topics here. First one being that talking about Pac Pro Trey Turner, baby, Pac-9 alum, obviously has been one of the best shortstops, if not arguably the best shortstop in baseball right now. And since 2018, CBS Sports tweets that Trey Turner has the most stolen bases in Major League Baseball, the second most hits in MLB, and the third most runs scored in the MLB. So again, this guy has absolutely skyrocketed. This guy went from, being, kind of a middle of the road, first round pick, that, wasn't necessarily, super hyped, to, really working his way up, and then, obviously killing it and winning a World Series with the Nationals, and then now really, making his name known with the LA Dodgers. So, Ryan, it's still is crazy to me. Obviously, I think all of us as State fans that saw him play saw the potential there, but it's still crazy to think that the NC State, that when there's a conversation of the best shortstop in Major League Baseball, that there's an NC State player that's in that conversation.
Yeah, because people don't understand how hard it is to make it to MLB. There's all these
it's
different levels for a reason, and to say that, oh yeah, we got one of the best. And who knows where his career is going to go. He could be, but it's cool to just see those guys kind of in this situation, because, we thought Rodon was going to do that, and he's coming back better now after his injuries and everything. But to actually have a guy there, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
You're happy for Avon because he's been there for so long. So now he's got a guy in there who's looks like he's gonna have a very long lasting career.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It felt like at a certain season, Trey Turner almost kind of plateaued with the Nationals, and then once he got he went to the Dodgers, his career has just taken another step up, which I mean, it's great.
I just wish it wasn't the Dodgers, so
yeah.
I could actually root for him.
Yeah. No, I get that. Greg, anything to add to that?
No, because right now I'm staring at my 2 Trey Turner bobbleheads from the Nationals and his one from the Potomac Nationals, and it just disgusts me. So no, I will not talk about it.
Okay, cool deal, Greg. And then Ken's being the you're a big Braves follower like you are.
Chop on, baby.
Chop
World
on,
Series
baby.
coming again. I'm
Love
telling
it.
you right now.
Can I tell you a
Love it.
real quick Trey Turner story?
Go for it.
This is a great story, though. So probably 3, maybe 4 years ago, we were watching them play against the Marlins, and the Marlins were this is when he was with the Nats, obviously. The Marlins were just killing the Nats that night, and the Nats were clawing back into the game, and they had the bases loaded, and there was a little kid, probably 7, 8 years old, sitting in front of me, and he was like, "Come on, Trey, hit a homer. And me and my big mouth said, "Hey, if Trey hits a grand slam, I'll go buy you a jersey." Guess what? $125 later.
Greg.
Yeah.
Oh, Greg.
But I made the kids' night. So, but and the Nats won.
Game
So,
of Greg.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
anyway, it was pretty cool. I tweeted it out, and Avent retweeted, and so did Trey. So I thought it was pretty cool. But
Cool.
he's always been one of my favorite players. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I'm with you, Kinsey. I can't see. I can't
Get
stand
Alpha
seeing them
out
guys
of
in
here.
blue.
Because we won that series, my guy.
For those who are listening in game 14 Alpha said Ken's Boston greater than Atlanta. Go Sox. So
Boston's not even in the conversation.
well, the only reason why they may be in the conversation is because obviously one of the big pieces of news that Trey Turner is at least to my knowledge going to be a free agent after the season.
Yeah.
And Red Sox are definitely a team
Bring him
that
to Atlanta.
I don't know.
Sit down, Dansby. We'll take Trey.
Get one. Get rid of. Actually, what was did he play at Clemson or Vanderbilt? Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's hard to like him.
So we'll see. But yes, no. Greg Roberts did say Trey will be signing a large contract after the season. Go Dodgers! And so
take the Lakers with you.
Go get into it. It's gonna stop. He and me, Alpha. We'll finish this conversation there.
Actually, in game 14 Alpha is actually in our members only Discord. So so you can chat there. And if you do want to join in on our members only, again, we have a promotion right now. Again, for only as low as $1.99 a month, you can join in on exclusive in-state perks, including our private Discord channel. So,
I will say this, Kens, keep it nice. He's a paying member. We like our paying members.
Yeah. I mean, he shouldn't start it if he can't finish it.
Oh, okay.
Good luck with that in game. I was on your side for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, we tried.
I'm aggressive.
But
everybody knows that.
But I definitely say for sure that whenever Trey gets this huge contract extension, hey, that's just another recruiting feather in Avent and Hart's cap for sure. So definitely, looking forward to that. All right, so now the last thing before we wrap it up here is obviously, so Pack Bride came out saying that In-State Athletics is set to re-sign with Adidas. Now, I know for me and myself, being a guy that literally, obviously I was a football equipment manager for 4 years, and unfortunately during that time, I grew my love for specifically the Ultra Boost shoes, but in Adidas shoes in general. That just, whenever I look at any other brand of sports shoe, whether it's Under Armour, Nike, whatever it is, I'm like, no, it's not as nice as the Adidas. So for me as Adidas lover, I'm like, thank goodness. And that way we don't have to go through the awkward transition. And I know my man Country, the head equipment manager, is very appreciative of that as well. Is again, if you're not exactly sure why that's such a big deal, go check out our old interview with Terry Country Calloway, the head equipment manager. Again, he kind of goes a little bit into that. But Ryan, I think for us, we obviously want to have a agenda or a look of a sort. And obviously, I think that Adidas has given us some great alternate uniforms, even with the black wolf unis last year. In honor of the bell tower, those were sweet. The all white ones were sweet for the Syracuse Military Appreciation Day. But how big of an announcement is it, in terms of us being ready to re-sign with Adidas?
Yeah, I think it was like one of those things that was expected. We just rebranded with Tuffy and everything too. So I think it would be so much involved trying to get it switched over. And I think State's one of those teams with Adidas that Adidas actually cares about.
Yeah.
So I think we're one of the top 10 Adidas schools for them. So, I mean, it was one of those things where as long as they were good with it, we were good with it. I just didn't see State switching. And thankfully they didn't, because I'm like you. I like Adidas.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Michael.
I will be interested to see how much money it is, because I think with the pandemic, I think Adidas was kind of I was reading an article, they were kind of not restructuring, but taking a look at, like a lot of companies were, what they spend their money on.
Yeah.
And the colleges they sponsor is definitely a big part of their expenses. And at the same time, we're talking with all the conference realignment talk about being brands, being about the biggest brands out there, and that's who's going to survive. I think that, the financials of this deal might give you a good look at where State is compared to other schools that have the similar deals.
I agree. Greg, can say anything to add to that?
I'm just thankful that I don't have to, change up my complete wardrobe.
Right.
And yet I'm thankful that I've found Adidas is finally that they sell in wide. That's my one complaint that I've always had with Adidas. They don't have a lot of wide shoes.
Yeah.
And I have a big fat foot, so it's really hard for me to find shoes. So.
The way you said that was funny.
A big fat foot. Yeah. No, I like it. Well, and again, it's just, because I don't know if you guys know, but do you know who the largest Adidas school is?
I would probably say Kansas.
Kansas.
I want to say Kansas, maybe Miami.
Maybe Miami,
yeah. Miami is definitely one of those where it's like, oh,
Nebraska.
Yeah, they are Adidas. That's interesting. So, but yeah, I mean, like, cause I think with, like, for example, obviously with like Nike, for example, I mean, it's going to be Oregon and then pretty much everybody else. But I think honestly with a school, sponsor contract, there is none bigger than Oregon and Nike, obviously. But so it's pretty up there. And then with Under Armour, is Maryland the biggest? Because isn't the owner of Maryland?
Kevin Plank went to Maryland.
Okay.
But I think they're still number one for their ambassador brand or whatever you want to call it, their headliner.
Well, they can keep their in my opinion ugly Maryland flag uniforms. I'm not a fan at all. It's way too much on one uniform. And Greg Robert says Notre Dame is because Notre Dame is Adidas.
Oh. No, they were Adidas, but I think they are Under Armour now.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was UCLA. They had that massive contract, but then
don't even talk about Under Armour.
What's that?
Don't even say their freaking name.
I was going to say, Kens, you'll be happy that Under Armour got out from that contract because UCLA stunk so bad. They weren't getting their money's worth. And like in the middle of like last year, they were like almost brandless for a couple of football games.
Yeah, they covered up the Under Armour logo with some other patch on their jerseys. Yeah.
Wow, that's big. All right, cool.
Yeah. So,
all right. So with that being,
can I say something real quick?
Go for it.
I'm just saying, all of y'all in here, go DM Mike Jones. Everybody who knows Mike, he was the greatest creative director we had. Loved him. One of my favorite people. Today was his last day at State. Bawled like a baby when he called me. But y'all just go wish him luck with the Hornets, please.
Is that where he's going, the Hornets? Oh, cool.
I mean, it's kind of hard to be mad at that then.
Yeah,
because their guy just left.
I had to just shout out my boy Mike.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
Can I just shout out Macon? I brought some chicken just for him.
Yes, no, that's great, Greg. Yeah, for those who don't know that that reference, check out last week's live stream, and you'll understand fairly quickly. Well, Ryan, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, brother. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, and we'll definitely again have you back on here in the near future. But again, it's 12 days away, my man.
Almost there.
12 days.
What's the menu looking like, Greg?
Almost there. Well,
Menu.
You're
So
not
it's gonna
my
be pretty
poor man
small.
Ryan. Sheesh.
Yeah. If anyone's
Oh,
if
sorry.
anyone's going to the tailgate, come on over. We'll have
Well,
I want
stuffed
food.
mushrooms, and we got some casserole, breakfast casserole. We'll be there at 6:30 in the morning, so we'll be there bright and early.
At ECU.
Yeah, at
right.
ECU.
Yeah, gotcha. So anyway, Ryan, pleasure to have you, my friend.
thank you guys for having me.
He'll never come back thanks to you, Ken.
I know. I'm sorry. I was just thinking about food. I'm hungry.
Just distracted.
I have ADHD, Ryan. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
And again, Ryan, you're probably better than this than I am, but obviously if you haven't checked out, Inside Pack Sports and all their work, make sure to go and do that. Hopefully you don't necessarily have to plug in too much to know where to find them. But again, in terms of with all the stuff they do with the Pack of Wolves collective, and obviously the great stuff that Steve and James put out there in general, it's definitely a must check out for sure. So Ryan, anything I'm missing? Any other sales or anything like that I'm not thinking about?
Yeah, just be sure to check out IPS Elite. That's how you can get directly involved with supporting student athletes. So we've had like these events. We're going to be at Packapalooza this Saturday coming up. So we're going to have a booth set up there. And the Elite Plus membership is like a way to get involved and kind of give back to our student athletes.
Love it. Good deal, Ryan.
And it's all the stuff. So.
There you go. That's the
More
important part.
Yeah.
That's the important part. Cool deal. Yep. And then for us on our end, obviously, if you haven't checked out already, our channel memberships, again, for as little as only $1.99 a month, you get access to things such as our private Tuffy Talk Discord, and even only two for $4.99. You can get our private Discord, but you also get members only videos, members only giveaways, and also to our weekly newsletter as well. So again, a ton of value there for only $4.99 per month. So make sure to go and check that out. So we can get signed up for that here as soon as possible and join in on all the smack talk going on in the private Discord behind the scenes. But anyway, so again, also to make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, it's free to do it and help support us. Also to hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever we go live. And also to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter or Instagram. And also to, if you're an NC State fan, hit that like button, because only NC State fans hit that like button. But thank you all so much again for joining us. And hey, as always, go Pack, y'all, and we'll see y'all next week.